This is a short story, Books Are Curious, written by Hugh B. O'Brien. The first time that McCall had asked Packy to go to Crevesborough Market, he hadn't been able to travel with him. It was the day of the blessing of the graves, and he didn't like to miss it. When he was a child, his mother had regularly brought him to pray over his father, and after her death he had continued the practice. Anyhow, he liked the idea of this special day when it was possible to see and sometimes meet people who had left the parish years before. McCall said the whole thing was a load of bollocks. When you're dead, Packy. And off he went to Crevesborough. Later that night, Packy heard the front door opening, and with his customary tap on the hall window, McCall entered the kitchen. "Well," said Packy. He was bent over the ironing board, intent on taking the last of the creases out of his Sunday shirt. McCall didn't speak. He walked to the table, took a cloth bundle from under his coat, undid the tie that bound it, and, laying it on the formica top, he unfolded the bundle for Packy to feast his eyes. Packy could see that it was a pouch of sorts, divided into 6 pockets, each holding a silver-coloured spanner. Packy pulled the largest one from its pocket, handling it carefully, handling it daintily, feeling its shape, texture and touch. "Nice," he said. He had always wanted nice things. He remembered his mother saying to him years ago on the road home from the town, "Wanting will be the death of ye yet, Packy." He had loved going to town with his mother, into all the shops, touching and smelling the newness of things, the oilcloth with the woolly back in the drapery shop, used to fancy up the kitchen table, the expert way the shop owner rolled out the patterned material, the deft journey of the scissors cutting through the cloth in a straight line from end to end. The first time he had touched the newness of the cloth, he had been standing with his back to the counter, measuring his height against its top moulding, because the girl in the shop had said that he was getting as big as a house. The shopkeeper had rolled out the oilcloth for his mother, and enough of it had fallen over the edge to cover him. When his mother had hooshed him from underneath the cloth, his small hand had felt the double touch of its shiny, oily surface and the lovely, woolly feel of its underside. On the way home that evening, he had asked his mother if he could have a wee bit of the cloth for the Sacred Heart shelf in his bedroom. "No," she said, "you can have a piece of the one that's coming off the table." But the old one Packy knew had knife cuts and cracks on it, and was well worn at the edges. He begged and pleaded, hopping backwards in front of her along the road. That was when his mother had told him that wanting would be the death of him. For days the oilcloth remained an area of conflict between them until finally, in response to Packy's pestering, his mother had told him that it was petticoats he should be wearing instead of trousers. And that was that. The oilcloth was not mentioned again. Over the years, the shops had stopped selling that type of table covering, and Packy remembered the night that Tommy Mullins had come to the house to refashion the tabletop with the newfangled stuff they called formica, that had to be stuck on with glue and finished off with silvery strips around the edges. It was red in colour and hard and cold to the touch. And worst of all, much to Packy's disgust, Tommy had assured the mother that it would last forever. McCall, as he often did, disappeared for a few weeks. Packy never asked him where he went, nor did McCall ever offer a reason for his absences. That was the way it was between them. So it was the last Sunday in September that poor Packy got his promised trip to Crevesborough. Packy was dressed and waiting at the window when McCall's red van pulled up outside the gate. Even though he hurried out, McCall, as he always did, hooted the horn. When Packy opened the passenger door to get in, the smell hit him. "What the devil have you in the van?" he said. "Did you ever smell a buckcoat before?" said McCall as he steered the van out from the gate. "What the hell does he have to come with us for today then, of all days?" Packy replied, irritably, wary of the buck's horns. "Wee bit of business, Packy, wee bit of business." McCall grinned, adding that he was only leaving the fucker back because he was bucked out. They bypassed the town. About a half a mile on the other side, McCall turned off the main road and headed up a narrow, potholed lane. "Where are we?" asked Packy as the van rode the slunks. "A shortcut," replied McCall, his eyes on the roadway. Packy felt uneasy. He could see McCall was not his usual self. "The bloody roads up here are as bad as below," roared McCall as he hit another pothole. "Are we over the border?" asked Packy nervously. "Don't you know there's no fucking border anymore?" A few bumpy miles later, McCall pulled up on the verge. "We'll leave her here," he said. "It'll be easier to get home afterwards. It's only a wee bit further. Walk round that corner there and it's barely about half a mile. There's a hamburger stand down the left-hand side of the field. I'll see you there in about an hour. All right?" McCall's half a mile turned out to be a series of corkscrew bends, and Packy seemed to be ending up in the middle of nowhere. But then he rounded the final bend and saw lines of cars, vans, lorries, and even a bus. And when he got past them, the field. A crowd milling about, the babble of voices getting louder, the excitement rising inside him. He was immediately accosted by a man's voice, offering him eternal luck and love if he would buy one of his many gold or silver charms. Packy thought the bangles looked nice, but he hurried on, mindful of McCall's warnings to watch the fly-by-os. He moved along from stall to stall, taking in the magic of colours and shapes, but watching for the hamburger place, which, as it happened, was just about where McCall had predicted. "Jesus," he said, aloud. A woman beside him said, "Pardon?" Packy muttered something, but his mind was in a muddle. At a stall beyond the hamburger place, there were rolls of it, just as he remembered them, standing in the corner outside the office in the draper's shop. And the patterns, the designs, the colours, blues and yellows, and Packy sidled towards a table in which there was a pile of pieces cut to fit the normal-sized table. The minute he lifted the top square, he knew by its weight that it was wrong. It was thin, and the back was canvassy. "Nice, eh? What?" said Packy. "Big enough to cover the Queen of Sheba's arse. And that's saying something," said the man, and roared, laughing at his own joke. "But it's not the same," said Packy. "There's nothing the same as that madam's arse. What the fuck do you want for the price?" Packy hurriedly offered the money. He stood by the hamburger stand as McCall had directed, and thought to himself that he must look stupid standing there with the rolled-up tablecloth, which, when it was opened out flat, he knew, would have cracks all over it. Thank God the hamburger man seemed too busy to notice him. If he could only rid himself of the damn cloth, which was beginning to stick to his sweaty hand. The crowd began to thin out. Stall owners started to pack up. There was no sign of McCall, and the hour had long passed. The hamburger man asked if he was all right. Packy said that he was fine. The man shrugged his shoulders and continued to clean his patch. But his question had made Packy more anxious, and he began to move. He felt awkward carrying the cloth, and when he reached the lane, he threw it into the shop. "Hey, you!" A large woman was staring at him. "What do you think you're doing? Take your bloody rubbish home with you. We have enough of our own to look after without the likes of yours." Packy hurriedly retrieved the cloth from the guttery shop, and as quick as he could, he got away from the verbal claws of the woman and started towards the van. When he got to the second last corner, he felt that it was safe enough to dump the now dirt-smudged, sweaty cloth. As he was about to throw it across the hedge, his eye caught sight of something lying in the shop, the leg of an animal. It was the smell that told him what it was. Holy God, he gasped. The goat was lying on its back. Its belly had been ripped open, and a mass of blood and guts had spilled out onto the grass. His stomach rose. He rushed away from the bloody mess. The minute that he turned the last corner, he knew that there was something terribly wrong. The door on the driver's side of the van was wide open, and when he got to the back, the two doors there were also open. Where the hell was McCall, Packy thought, and the goat? He heard a car coming down the lane. When it came to a stop beside the van, Packy could see two men in the front. The back door on the right-hand side opened, and a big man in a leather jacket hauled McCall out and dumped him on the ground. The man in the front passenger seat spoke. That should be enough for now. The big man in the leather coat got back into his seat. The side window in the front was rolled up, and the car sped away. McCall lay on his back on the lane. His old raincoat was torn and bloodied. His face was a mass of blood and bruises, and with his mouth half open, Packy could see that his dentures were missing. McCall, biting his pain, motioned to Packy to get him to the van, and with great difficulty he did so. When he got into his own seat, he saw McCall reach down and pull a bottle from underneath. He unscrewed the top and took a deep slug of the clear liquid and handed it to Packy, who groped under the seat to get the top, which he screwed back on without tasting it. McCall fumbled noisily under the dashboard and found the spare key that he had hidden there in case of an emergency. It was only when the van had been eased back onto the lane that Packy spoke. What the hell happened, he said, thinking about what the man had said and what had he meant by for now. McCall's voice was difficult to understand. Packy thought he heard him mutter something about what the goat must have done before he put him in the van that morning. What do you mean, like? Packy asked. No questions. Not up here in this bloody country, McCall spat out. But those men, no more fucking questions, right? Right. Between occasional grunts from McCall, Packy pondered the goat and McCall and himself.